Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. In today's dry dock video, we're going to talk about the first physical thing that we've done towards dry docking, and it was a critical thing, and it's something that we have to knock out first, and that is cutting the mast off of the ship. Battleship New Jersey has an air draft of about 176 feet at her current draft marker, which is all well and good, except that the Walt Whitman Bridge that we have to transit under only has an air draft of about 150 feet at high tide. We buy ourselves about 6 extra feet at low tide, but we also lose a couple of feet if there are a bunch of cars on the bridge. It will actually cause the span to drop several feet. So we cut off about 40 feet of mast, and that is going to, it's basically level with the top of the radar platform up there, the top of the tripod mast. And this is going to give us enough clearance to get under there. The mast is not the only piece that we have to cut off. We also need to unbolt several of the dipole antennas up there. There's 3 that have to come down that stand up too tall, and the SPS-49 air search radar has to come down as well. So this was a 2-day evolution. You're seeing us at the end of day 1. We have the mast down. We had to delay 2 days because of a severe winter storm that's coming through. I didn't want to be up on the mast when it's raining 3 inches in a day. So Thursday, tomorrow, the day after this video airs, we're going to climb back up there and unbolt the radar antenna and the various radio dipole antennas and pull those down. We will absolutely film that, and that will be in a future video. But for today's video, I just wanted to show you guys that the process has started. Now that this stuff is down, we're going to be able to transit under the bridge, and at this point we can go to the dry dock whenever they have the availability to do so. I've been seeing a lot of questions since we posted this online. Well, are you going to paint it while it's on the ground? Yeah, obviously. Are we going to put it back up? Yeah, definitely. This is going to be down for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months. Taking it down an unknown period of time before we move the ship. We'll transit back under the bridge, come back to our pier at the end of the dry dock process. Remember, we're expecting to be on the blocks for about 60 days. We'll probably be closed about 2 weeks before and after that. So now we're talking about 90 days for the total project. And at the end of that project, we put the mast back on and weld it back into place. So we are not permanently decapitating the ship. She is not always going to look like one of my models after Mom has dusted the room and just destroyed all the rigging and masts of all of my model ships. That is going back up almost certainly before the end of this year, probably within 6 months of the date that we post this video. We are going to paint it while it's on the ground, and we're also going to relamp the aviation warning lights. So that brings us to the question of what are masts for on ships that don't have sails. The mast is primarily for holding antennas for communication. The masts on Iowa-class battleships, this top part of the mast, does not have rigging attached to it, but it does have a series of antennas on it. You can see these plates sticking off the side and other various things. I can't tell you entirely what they all are for. And then you can see that it's got a series of warning lights on it, and that is because this sticks higher than 150 feet in the air, so everything higher than 150 feet in the air is supposed to have an aviation warning light. And that means when we're not operating under darkened ship, which is most of the time except wartime, those are going to be on so that our own helicopter or other aircraft don't accidentally run into the ship. You can see that it needs some paint work. Obviously, we have not climbed up there over the last couple of years to paint it. The other major thing on there is also aviation related. You see this top hat at the end of the mast? That is called a TACAN antenna, or Tactical Air Navigation. Essentially, all U.S. Navy ships have one of those pretty much at the highest point, and it's transmitting a signal out to aircraft so that they can get a range and bearing to this vessel, so that if they need to home in on us with our helicopter returning to this ship, or they have an emergency, they need to get as close to us as possible, or whatever the case may be, they're getting that information from this TACAN antenna. Here's a fun story for you. I've heard from multiple folks who served on the Iowa-class battleships as junior officers that there would have been a plaque or a plate on top of the TACAN antenna, and one of their responsibilities relatively early on joining the ship's company was to climb all the way up to the top of the mast and read what was on that plate. None of them have told me what was actually on that plate. I don't know if it was like a regular label plate that says this is a TACAN antenna or whatnot, but several have reached out to me and said, hey, there was a plaque up there. You should climb up and see what it says. Several years ago I did that, but now that it's here, it's much easier to get footage of, and you can see that there is not currently a plate up there. And honestly, I don't know if this is our original TACAN antenna, it just bolts onto the top of the mast, or if the Navy took our working one and replaced it with an unworking one. But there is neither a plate on there nor like a big square rust spot that shows that a plate's been removed. So the mast is 16 inches in diameter at the base. It tapers to 6 inches at the top. It's what I say earlier, it's I believe 41 feet in total, and we cut it a couple feet up, so this is probably 38, 39 feet right here. And when we had it on the crane, we were able to weigh it at 5,300 pounds. We roughly knew the weight of the mast itself from the blueprints, but that did not include the weight of all the antennas and cables and other things that are on there. So the removal process involved 2 separate stages. Initially, we thought we were going to just be able to use basically an air compressor powered Sawzall. And man, I've never seen a Sawzall like this. The sucker had a 3-foot reciprocating blade on it. Any of my Gears of War guys out there, it looked like the bayonets on the, what are they called, Lancer rifles. And this thing was ridiculous. And they basically bicycle chained it to the mast, and it had a pivot point on it so they could push out on the handle end and it would push the blade end in. Well, so we used that for close to an hour and cut less than an inch through the mast. This is 1/2 inch. I think it might be HY80 steel. It is, the masts on the Iowa-class battleships are reinforced, but they just weren't able to cut through. And we're like, oh my God, we're gonna be here all day. Of course, the crane is suspending it, so we can't just like stop at the end of the day and come back later. So we switched to the plasma torch and cut it, and that took less than a 1/2 hour to cut through the whole thing. And we found out that the issue was when this was cut off over 2 decades ago when the ship was first brought here, they welded a sleeve on it. The tripod legs had sleeves around the outside, so we knew they were sleeved. This one, they welded the sleeve on the inside so that the mast slotted over it, so there was an extra 3/8 plate in there that we didn't know about. And so this was more than 3/4 of an inch thick all told, and it took the plasma cutter to actually get through it all. The mast is sitting right here on our pier. Until the museum puts out an announcement that we are closing, then we are still open to the public. You can come down and see it, and this is the closest that you will likely ever get to an Iowa-class mast in your life. So, once-in-a-lifetime chance to come down and see it here on the pier. And again, I cannot stress this enough. We are going to do work on it while it's down here, and as soon as we bring the ship back and everything else is lined up, we're going to put it back up there. This is not a permanent thing. It is the first step to get us into dry dock. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate all the donations you guys have given us so far. It's what's making this process possible. Now that this is a real live process that we are doing work on, we really appreciate your support. Any amount of money that you give us over the $10 million that we need to do the base work is extra parts of the project that we can tack on that will just leave the ship in better condition for the next 30 years. We really appreciate it. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.